It is 10 a.m. I've arrived at one of my favourite places. This is Formby Beach. The reason I love it here, you've got the beach, but you also got the woodland as well. So there's a little bit of a tourist fact for you right there. What I wanted to do today was, I get a lot of requests for this, which is kind of like a day in the life, how I train, how I structure my workouts. And the reality is like so often I'm all over the place, whether it's traveling, coaching, or floating around countries. Whereas now it's nice that I've got a bit of a period where I'm going to be at home and I can actually put a bit of structure to my training. So 10 a.m. today, what I'm going to be doing is sand hill sprint. So this is interval training. For those who have got The Art of Resilience, the book, you'll know that quite often with my endurance training, we're basically dissecting it. We've got this idea of cruise and kill speeds based on polarized training. It just means that you spend 80% of your time training low intensity, slow aerobic. Aerobic means that you're doing it at an intensity where you can talk. So imagine if we went for a run and you were running and you can speak in complete sentences. It's that sort of intensity. That's building an aerobic base. So that's like your gas tank. Whereas what we're doing today is 20% where it's all anaerobic, high intensity interval training. Here you should not be able to speak. This is now working at intensity where you are just basically, lungs are burning, legs are on fire, and that's why I like doing it on the sand as well. So this is basically the kill speed. Other sessions when I'm doing my slow 10k swims, they're my cruise speeds. So it's going to get ugly today basically. With that said, Hester's come down to keep me company. So this is like date night for us basically. I know I'm a strange sort of boyfriend.
I'm not going to get a better date night than this.
And then no, you will. and then what I'm basically going to be doing towards the afternoon, going to go cook. What are we eating later?
We're going to have a protein brownie.
Biscoff
And chocolate, I'm thinking.
Chocolate Biscoff, protein brownie, and then
Yeah.
towards the afternoon I'm going to be doing my strength training. Reason being, and I'm going to try and keep this quite short, but based on the work of Robert Hickson on concurrent training, rooted in molecular biology, it's this idea that whenever you do a training session, especially if you're doing 2 in a single day, you need to separate them by enough recovery time and make sure that you're sending a very clear cellular signal to the body on what you want it to adapt to. So that's why this morning, it's that anaerobic training. My body's going, oh, okay, anaerobic training, high intensity interval training, that is what we're adapting to. And then we're going to separate it with the chocolate protein brownie. We're going to eat, we're going to rest, and then towards the afternoon, we're going to do our strength training. Body's ability to generate force. It's probably specifically training back and biceps. So like I said, going to be doing these sort of videos to try and explain how I structure my workout. But with all of that said, I'm now going to get my game face on.
3, 2, 1, go.
That is not pleasant. So we're 18 minutes in. So the format, just to basically run through it, the format is kind of intuitive. Again, in the book, I talk a lot about Emil Zátopek, hero of mine, 3 gold medals, Helsinki Olympics. Never run a marathon before in his life, ended up winning gold. The reason he was able to do that, he was such a pioneer and advocate of high intensity interval training. And then my legs are giving up. So basically, one thing that Emil used to run, he used to do 100, 400 meter sprints. Next time you go to an athletics track, just take a look around, that's 400 meters, you used to do 100 of those. And it's just that sort of conditioning that allowed him to work at whatever intensity and pace a 10k or a marathon would ever compete at, because he was just used to that crazy intensity. So that's almost what I'm trying to replicate now, but train quite intuitively as well. What I mean by that is we are 20 minutes in, and what I've been doing is quite short, quite powerful sprints, as you'll see. But after a while, we'll start to elongate those, we'll start to move those out as your technique starts breaking down. It becomes less about speed and more just about, are you basically just going to suffer, strategically manage suffering? So we're going to start extending the sprints out a little bit more, maybe even remove the shoes and socks as well, start training the intricate muscles of the feet as well, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And we've even got a weighted vest as well. So like I said, it's quite intuitive, playing around with it, inspired by Emil Zátopek. So it's at this point during the sand sprints that I like to take my shoes off. I like to feel the sand between my toes, which sounds a little bit odd, but the science to that is, and I'm a big advocate of barefoot running, as you guys know, a lot of the work that I do with Vivo Barefoot, but basically I just think when we wear these big shoes with a big heel, we forget to sort of forefoot strike, we turn off that proprioception, that kinesthetic awareness, so just the feeling in our feet, we turn off that biosensory feedback as well. When you're running barefoot, all of a sudden your feet start feeding back to your brain about gradient, speed, weight, all these sorts of things. Are you forefoot striking, are you heel striking, all of these things, but we turn those off when we wear big, heavy, built up shoes. So I think what's really nice right now, we're gonna take a wander back, gonna go and find a weighted vest and carry on the workout. But now, sounds strange, but I said at the start, the goal, the cellular signal was all about anaerobic fitness. But right now we're changing that ever so slightly, changing it. And now the goal is sensory feedback and building up the small intricate muscles in the feet. Here's much better barefoot running. What have you got? What is that? What is going on? Come on, intro. Roll.
It's gorgeous, it's mango.
Very good. So, I'm not advocating ice cream intra-workout. However, there is actually a funny story about Emil Zátopek on this. So this is the thing about Emil Zátopek. Not many people know his wife was an amazing javelin thrower as well. And date night for them, she used to basically go out, ping a javelin, and Emil Zátopek would run, go and pick up the javelin and bring it back like a dog, like fetching a stick. And they would just go out to the field and ping it. So in many ways, I'm Emil Zátopek.
And I'm pinging you ice cream.
But instead of a javelin, you are wielding. Thank you. That is not pleasant. You know what I said before as well, pulmonary ventilation, time to fatigue, lactic threshold, you literally feel it. That was the hardest hill sprint so far. I think now, 40 minutes into the session, it's getting a bit long now. Not Emil Zátopek long, but getting long, certainly for me. And worth noting for anyone who's watching this, your high intensity interval training does not have to be this long. You know, there's some studies showing up to 10 minutes improvement of VO2, lung capacity, lactate threshold, buffering capacity of the muscles as well, just as much as 10 minutes. So it doesn't have to be this long. With that said, I'm going to turn it into an hour, and it's probably going to get ugly now. She looks so concerned. So the Navy SEAL fitness test with Eddie Hall, like I loved all of the comments and how engaged people were on that. So thank you so much for everybody who's seen that. But there was a few comments and they made such a good point, which was just the fact that on the pull-ups, press-ups, and the run and swim and everything like that, it would be the equivalent of me doing that at about 95 kilos at the moment with Hester on my back, basically. That was what Eddie did, and that's why I think it made it so impressive. So taking that on board, and because also as well with the whole session today, I've not really got a deadline, I've not got a specific adventure in mind. I'm still playing around with my training a little bit. So we're about an hour in, drawing towards the end. If you have a willing girlfriend or boyfriend, you can try this.
What we trying?
Well, sprints is a ambitious walk up there with you on my shoulder. Okay. Should look a little something like this. I think there's a wife carrying competition.
This is what he does to me in the kitchen, and then he spins me around.
There's a wife carrying competition. So like I said, this is a nod to the big man. What Eddie did on the Navy SEAL fitness test was like me doing this with Hester. Okay, this could go wrong. I'm going to apologise.
Oh God.
It's not bad. My knees are buckling now. One thing on talk about rest intervals as well. Obviously, again, intuitively play around with it, a little bit like fartlek training, but I'm working on about 30 seconds, but the key is just at the point where you've about caught your breath, you go again. So I'm working off 30 seconds. I've no doubt that might get a little bit longer as the session goes on. Like I said, this isn't such a strict high intensity interval session. It's more fartlek.